Tonight, I tell you, I feel like a warrior. I feel like a warrior. Listen, look what I got in my hand. Lashes to you, man. Lashes, lashes. When did you see lashes fly like that in Parliament in the last, what, 5 years? In the last 5 years, you ever seen any lashes like lashes, man? Pure lashes, lashes in the tail, lashes. Listen, that's what we call an opposition in Parliament, and that is what we want. This is what we have been missing 5 years now. Every one of those ministers are going to be on their toes coming in there. Yes, they are. Yes, because somebody cleaning the temple of the corruption, somebody cleaning that parliament of the corruption, somebody taking up a rod and clearing out that parliament of corruption. Yeah, somebody doing it. Yeah. All right. So let us play our national anthem. Said the graveyard is the richest place on earth because of all the purpose and all the destiny that's there.
Marcia, I hate to use the show for my own personal things, but tonight I'm going to ask you for some indulgence because it's personal to
Okay.
me now, not personal to the country. And I already sent you in your WhatsApp, I sent you the certificate of registration for Unity Workers Union. And now I am going to send you a letter to the from the chief labor officer that I got on Monday by email. So those two things will give the deceit that was practiced in the House today about Unity Workers Union and Caswell Franklin. Even though they didn't call the name, they call every other union, and to say that this union is not compliant. I'm going to explain to you and I'm going to demonstrate it using the law where my non-compliance comes. All right. When I moved to Belleville, I did not send in the notice of change of address.
Yes.
So that is one round of non-compliance. It was negligence on my part. I know I was supposed to send it, but I'm busy and I just overlooked it.
Yes.
Right? That is one. The other one is that my accounts have not been submitted on time. That, according to the Trade Union Act, I have it here with me, Section 32, for the people who want to read the law to follow it. It says that a general statement of receipts, funds, effects, and expenditure of every trade union registered under this act shall be transmitted to the registrar before the first day of June in each year, and that statement, and it says shall contain whatever it should contain, basically accounting information. And then it goes on at subsection 4 that says that if you do not file, you can be convicted in the magistrate's court and a penalty of $25. All right?
Mm-hmm.
One, I readily admit the accounts are not up to date with the registrar. But what caused me to ask the accountant to step up was that the Minister of Labor went to the Labor Department and gave instructions to labor officers to go to corporate affairs to check me out. He forgot that I have ears in law places and corporate affairs people to call me and told me. So I started to step on the gas to get it done. So there's no question of if Unity Workers Union is qualified to represent people or not. I am registered under the Trade Union Act. And the most they can do to me is to make me pay $25 to the court. Now, if for some reason I refuse to do all that, the registrar can send me a notice requiring me to file by a particular time and giving me a reasonable time to comply. And if I don't do that, then the registrar can strike off the union. But it is not an automatic thing, as these people will want to give you the impression to scare people that, oh, Caswell can't represent anybody. I understand why they're doing it, because they're scared of me. The minister went on the radio on Brass Tacks on Sunday, and they pointed out to the country that he was talking rubbish. And of course, he ain't like that. And then again, you will see a letter from the chief labor officer to me. Now, if I am not compliant, and if I am not all of these things that they're alleged I am not, why would the chief labor officer be writing to me, asking me to comment on legislation?
What I have up on the screen for those who are watching is Mr. Franklin's registration of the union. All right. So that is what is on up there. And as I said, it's something Mr. Franklin said to me that he has an accountant working on getting his stuff up to date. All right. So this is something that Mr. Franklin had been working on actually.
So the question of not all these things that they're trying to give the impression, and they spent 10 or 15 minutes, I'm not sure, because it's being reported to me, and people sent me WhatsApp clips. What is going on in the House is supposed to tell the country how the government is going to spend the money that we pay in taxes. That is what the estimates are all about. And the government don't spend any money on me. The government don't spend any money on Unity Workers Union. So why is Unity Workers Union being featured in the estimates? They don't give Unity Workers Union a cent. When they offered me a duty-free car, I refuse to accept a duty-free car from them, because they can't ask me to account for anything. So I am not taking their little things, because right now, like some general secretaries, I'll be driving a Mercedes Benz now. I drive an old Toyota Suzuki Swift. That's what I can afford. So they saw me and they said, offered me a duty-free car. I said, no, thank you. Now, the letter that you see here is from the chief labor officer, and she sent it to me on it is by email. Why she had to email it? Because she called me, her secretary called me on Monday to say that the chief labor officer wanted to speak with me. And I said, I have nothing to say to her. She's dishonest. She went on the program and on the radio and tell lies about me, saying that what I was saying was untrue. And I will not speak to her after that unless she apologizes. So all of them getting together now and trying to make me look bad. First of all, one of the things that she was saying, and the thing is that you must have 50% plus one to be recognized. That is nonsense. There's only one place in Barbados now where Barbados Workers Union has 50% plus one. That's at the port. In the hotels that they're making so much noise about, the hotels have 14,000 people and they have 434. So if 434 is 50% plus one of 14,000, then the hotel should recognize or should deal with Barbados Workers Union. That's not the case. If you have a single member, one single member, okay, and you go to represent a person at his workplace, you do not have to be recognized as a trade union to represent anybody. You could bring your grandfather, your old aunt, the fellow down the road that laying down. You can say, but you know something about representing people like kids, come and go and represent me. The employer has to accept you. So it's not a question of recognition. What you're recognized for is collective bargaining so that you can get terms and conditions for the workers, the whole group of workers, everybody. But they can't stop me from representing workers if they have disciplinary hearings, grievances, or anything of that sort. It is only that I'm not representing the entire workforce because I don't. And the employers, there's some employers that say, don't worry about the 50% plus one. It is not a law. It is a practice. That's the practice in Barbados. So when I hear an attorney on Sunday saying is the law, and now you understand the chief of the officer says so today too, she has to go and review the law. There's no such law in Barbados. None whatsoever. Right? But they want to give the impression that I don't have enough people that I recognize. That is not so. If I were not recognized, why would the chief labor officer be writing me, asking me to comment on legislation that they sent to me on the 16th of February and asked me to comment on the 23rd? Of course, I don't sit down and wait for the chief labor officer to write me. And they wrote me on the 16th, delivered it on the 16th, hand delivered. And while I was sitting down in my office, the messenger came in. The phone rang. I was speaking to some person. My assistant said to me, the department was calling. I answered. It was the deputy chief who was asking me if I get a letter yet. And the message came the same time. And they wanted me to respond. It is to the Protection of Wages Act. And they are asking me to make comments. One of my comments would have been, I'm going to comment to them now, would have been that this is the Protection of Employers Act, not the Protection of Wages Act, because they have now raised the amount of money that an employer can take from your salary if the employer owe you money. Because once upon a time, the amount of money that you could have taken out of a person's salary in all was a third of his salary because the person still has to eat. Now they are saying to you, in addition to what other things that you have coming out of your salary like national insurance and income tax, on top of that, you could still take out a third. That's what this government is doing now to workers. So if the employer can end up leaving you with nothing. If you have, let's say you have a mortgage, national insurance, income tax, and that take up the better part of your salary, then the government is now saying that employers can take out a third. Once before, all of those things amounted to a third. There couldn't be more than a third. Now they are saying, in addition to those things, they can take out another third on those. And that is one of the things that they wanted me to comment about. So they are trying their best to destroy people who stand up against the government. And I can't say I'm ashamed of Abrams because he was the fellow designated to lead the charge against me. Because let me say to him, he should be more concerned about what's going on in his ministry than what is going on with corporate affairs and me. Because right now, if the corporate affairs get involved with political action against me, I can court with them. Because that's not their job. They can't go there taking instructions for politicians to do something with me. But what Abrams should be concerned about is the death in Glenderry and Dodge Prison rather, about a guy called Sean Hinkson, who was denied medical treatment for over a week, and he subsequently died this Saturday night in his cell. He is supposed to deal with that. I use that to blackmail them into giving me an inquiry into the prison. The same Abrams, and I turned around and I drafted the terms of reference of the inquiry and give them to him, dictated them to him. Let him deny all of these things. I said, well, if I don't get, think I get McNugg's book, Sean Hinkson. So they did the inquiry and then make it secret. It says got national security implications. So tell him to tell Sean Hickson's family what really happened, rather than come and deal with Caswell Franklin because I am late with my income returns, or that I didn't send in my return change of
Change
address
of
on
address.
time. Right? So them is the two things I'm aware of that I am not compliant with. So if that is something so big that it has to take up a part of the estimates, which is really the government's budget. When the government is deciding what they're going to spend and how much, and then they're looking to see how much they're supposed to get, and as a result, the difference between that, according to the estimates itself, is almost $1 billion that the government got to look and raise taxes. They can't raise $1 billion with the $25 that you owe the government for late payment. So I don't understand why they would want to deal with it. They want to embarrass me. I am unembarrassable unless I do something by myself, and I do it to me. They can't embarrass me. Let them deal with their own problems. I am not their problem. I might make problems for them because they stand up and they talk about the things that they're doing. Just like I just tell you about Sean Hinkson, he should be dealing with that. He should not be out there. So, I am not asking you to call any names, but just call the names of the people who are compliant. No, is he compliant, and is the prison compliant when it comes to the death of Sean Hinkson? Sean Hinkson died. Sean Hinkson went to the medical unit in the prison, complained about pain in his stomach. They sent him back. He went back. The officer took him back again. They sent him back. He went back the Thursday. Then he told them, he said that he had blood in his mouth. They tried to wash it out with salt water. And then the man lay down in his cell and convulsed until he passed away without medical attention, without even somebody getting a drop of water. And the prisoners were in there beating on the door, trying to get assistance for Sean Hinkson. And he died. Because and everyone's walking about the place worried about me. And because I ain't sending my returns, or I ain't submit, not even returns, I just supposed to file the accounts, and then I do my change of address. It's $25 a piece. That the magistrate find me $25 pay.
I called Rachel today. Rachel is a young woman, 28 years old at that time, who fell in a 30-foot well. A young woman who was working for the government. This same government that is in there talking. The same Colin Jordan would have been, he's a minister of labor. And this young lady was working for the government, 28 years old, fell in a well. Why did she fall in the well? She left and was gallivanting? Why did she fall in? She should have been at work and she fell in the well. No, she went to wee wee. She went to wee wee or pee pee because they had no toilets for the workers. Mr. Colin Jordan and the government of Barbados. This is what you do to your workers. You are the worst employers. This young lady went to use the bathroom and had to go and use the tree, bend down behind a tree because they were cleaning the roads. And the young woman fell in a well 30 feet. And what happened? According to this lady, I am reporting what she said to me. She told me that all she got was some dried up fruits in a basket
Right.
that came from the Prime Minister's office. That's what she got in the hospital, broke up her foot. Thank God she was alive. And all she got was some dried up fruits that this government did to this young lady. Okay? That is what happened. She got some dried up fruits in a basket while she was in the hospital. And her NP told her, Hinkson, Edmund Hinkson from the same government, as reported by Rachel, that she should be lucky that she had a job. That's what that was reported to us by Rachel. That she should be lucky she had a job. And they also told her that they're not responsible. They are not responsible, that she was a contract worker. They told Rachel, who fell in the well, who was employed by them, that she was a contract worker. This government, because they wanted to ensure that they did not pay her anything. And you know who stepped up for her? Mr. Franklin, and called that wonderful reporter, Maria Bradshaw, carried that story. She carried that story because Mr. Franklin gave her access to Maria Bradshaw. So Maria Bradshaw carried the story so this woman could get some help. Remember, she was working for the government that they provided in this day and age. The incident, I believe, occurred in 2022. And in this day and age, you have workers working and you don't provide any bathroom for them. They have to use the tree. She has to stoop down, drop her underwear in the bush. In this progressive society, that's what you need to start to be speaking about. And it was this Mr. Franklin who got Miss Bradshaw to write an article so that the world, Barbados, could know about it. And the diaspora and Barbadians jumped in. And you know what we did through the show? Through Mr. Franklin's help? The people in the diaspora, I have to give you a big up for this. They paid all of the money for her therapy, for her foot. They paid it on this show. It paid already. She went to do the therapy and they said there's a steel in her foot that they need to take out. So the money was paid already. I have the receipt for it. The doctor will tell you that the money paid by this show. Not only that, Mr. Franklin makes sure that she had an open door policy up there. This young lady, because in her current situation, she would need some help. She can walk in, right? And she told me she went there and Mr. Franklin tell her, fill up your bags. Fill up your bags with stuff, right? Fill up your bag with stuff. This is the same young lady that the government refused to take care of. Refuse. I'm talking about the care. This government cares. Refuse to take care of. Mr. Franklin also went and pleaded her case and wrote to the NIS on her behalf. He was doing the work of Mr. Jordan. He was doing the work of Colin Jordan, Edmund Hinkson, and all of those. And he got that young lady the NIS benefits that she's supposed to get, because where they said they were not giving her in the first place. And Mr. Franklin went and got it done. And you know what he said? He said, Marcia, I do not want one red cent from that young lady. He did not take one dime from that young lady. And she's still waiting on the money. And you know what this government did? You know what this government did? Can you imagine what this government did? When they found out That okay, they decided, okay, they realized they had to pay her out through NIS. They realized that, you know what they did? They cut her benefits. Her welfare benefits got cut. There, Mr. Franklin go again to make sure she can cover her monthly everything that she's supposed. We tried, and we came to you guys and we told you, and you and the diaspora and Barbadians, local Barbadians helped again. And this is the same government in there talking about, employee rights and all of that. Really, really, Rachel wasn't an employee. She wasn't an employee. When you had left her to go and drop her underwear in the bush in 2022 in this progressive country, while Mr. Franklin is waiting on all of his for the accountant to complete what he has to do, he is still working and helping people. And one thing I can tell you is that this is a man of integrity. I know. I learned from him. I would tell you more that I am a Christian, and Mr. Franklin probably would not use that terminology. But when I go to his office and I see the way you go up to Mr. Franklin's office, you can barely even see anything on the floor or behind him. He has sneakers and boxers and new things to give away to people. He has a whole room that look like a supermarket. He take up his little bag, the same little bag that they tease him about in Parliament, in the Senate. He goes in his little bag and he takes out all these little all these vouchers. I said, what you doing with those vouchers? He said, it's the people when they come, I have something to give them. That is the man. So I don't care what they are going to trump up, because trust me, they are trumping up stuff on me as well. And all I'm going to do is laugh. I told you already. I done in Jamaican Muslim. I done dead already. You could do whatever you want to do. It's not going to stop me. You can't stop this mouth from opening up. You could do whatever you want to do. You understand what I tell you? So we understand what is going on. And my turn is coming. I can tell you. Easy, they said, where was the people's representative from that parish? Exactly. Edmund Hinkson to represent that young lady. He was nowhere to be found. The MP was nowhere to be found. Huh? That's what, and I'm glad that Ralph Thorne is there. I am so glad that Ralph Thorne is there.
They are saying my accounts are not up to date. That's what the offense is. It is, they are not, and that's the truth. But ask them whose accounts were not up to date and who did not pay any taxes between 1968 and 2000. Ask them whose father did not pay a single cent in income tax between. And the thing is, my accounts don't require me to pay any taxes because unions don't pay taxes. All right? So I am not cheating the government or any revenue or anything like that. It is just that they want to take the information and put it in a file in case somebody wants to see it. But you have a situation where people did not pay. But from the time I was 10 years old then, between 1968 and 2000, did not pay a single cent in tax. And these same people that are attacking me went to the house and voted to write off those taxes. You know? Why did I want to vote to write off my returns? You know? But I was in existence. My unit was in existence for 1968. And the thing is, it is not a single cent that they have to pay anybody. You know, it is just for them to have a record that these things were done. That's all it has been done. Nobody ever. One of the things I have to pay is national insurance because I have an assistant. My admin assistant. Her national insurance is up to date, not even paid late. It is up to date, and I paid every cent for her. All right. This same government, for hundreds of people in Barbados, did not pay a single cent in national insurance. I went on the calling programs, I complained, I went and do everything. I forced them to pay national insurance for these people, including Rachel, because Rachel they didn't pay national insurance for her either. So when they are complaining about me, stop, take the mope out them eyes, leave me alone. Let me do what I am doing. I am not committing an offense, and I am not breaking the law and killing people and robbing the body, and I'm not doing anything immoral. But they spend 10 minutes out of the estimate's time so that they can attack me. And the estimates are not about me.
They can't deal with the thorn that is, sticking them where the sun don't shine. So then they take it out on you. Yeah.
Tell Jordan to keep out of recruitment places. One of the same people he had in the House of Assembly today giving evidence was the wife of one of his canvassers, who they maneuvered into becoming the director of BEC, Barbados Employment and Career Counseling. Didn't qualify for the job, wasn't entitled to it, but she in it. Call her husband canvases in St. Peter. Tell him to deal with those things. Leave me alone. I let the young lady, as a matter of fact. But the question remains, why is he attacking me? Mind you, yes, I said things about him, but all are true. I have not said anything untrue about him. What he wants me to do? Sit down and pretend?
Let him go answer Mr. Thorne. He cannot stand up to me. Did you see what happened? We're gonna get to that. But they will have to turn on you inside there because you're not in there. But Mr. Thorne is in there. He cannot stand. He can't even walk in Mr. Thorne's old shoes. Okay? He can't do it. So therefore, you are not there. You are not there, and they decide that they are going to attack you, right? Yeah, they're scared of Mr. Thorne, but they can't deal with him. He was inside there bucking when Mr. Thorne was dealing with him today.
I'm not normally on Wednesday, but after the estimates today, I felt an obligation to support my friend and my brother Caswell in the matter. I hear people clutching at straws. I don't know if you remember that old saying, Caswell. People catching at straws because they can't find something substantive to engage you with. And Marcia would have no doubt that they will try to find something on you, and they will try to find something on me, because that's how you try to negate the influence of an individual by chastising and trying to, as it were, say things that would damage their credibility. And I don't know if I should say, Caswell, I'm disappointed at Colin. This is one of the reasons that people don't like church. This is one of the reasons. He is an elder in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And even if he has a grouse with you, there are ways that we function as believers. What is clearly evident is that Colin seems to have lost the ability to represent the kingdom of God as he ought to in the House of Assembly before the people of this country. And I am embarrassed, to be brutally frank. If I was in there, I would have to carry myself with better decorum. I listened to a bit of it, and I heard what was said. I have heard you speak this evening concerning your explanation. And all I can say, Caswell, Marcia, is that they're clutching at straws. This program is creating problems for them. Mr. Franklin is creating problems for us. So how do you deal with the problem? You try to discredit the messenger so that nobody listens to the message. That is what they tried with Jesus. They tried to discredit him so nobody listened to what he said. But unfortunately, they were not able to discredit him, as they will not be able to discredit us. You will catch at straws, but at the end of the day,
they are taking out all that is happening, Caswell. They're taking this out of you. They're taking this out.
Well, I heard this show mentioned more than once without calling the name. And I don't know if what is the purpose of the estimates. I listened to the people sitting in front of the members of parliament, and as far as I'm concerned, they should be speaking to the expenditure that has occurred. They should be speaking to the expenditure that has occurred. And they should be speaking to the expenditure that has occurred. And as far as I'm concerned, they should be speaking to the expenditure that has occurred. And as far as I'm concerned, they should be and they should be speaking to the budget that is being proposed from their particular ministries. If a question is that, look, the question was asked last night of the Minister of People Empowerment by the leader of the opposition, which he has not answered up to now. The question that was asked was if the $500,000 that was being given to the non-governmental organization that looks after the homeless is something that they are going to be giving every single year. And up to now, the minister has not answered that specific question, which is a political ploy. They always defer. And he talked about the 250,000. He talked about the addition to 150,000, but he has not answered the leader of the opposition's question. Is it a figure that is going to be given to the particular NGO every year by the government? We don't know that yet. I am happy and thankful for my good friend for the help that he is getting. I listened to him today on Brass Tacks, and there's quite a bit of things he said that I was in agreement with.
I first just want to address something quickly before we get to that. Pastor Ferdinand, you started off by saying that Colin Jordan is a Seventh-day Adventist. However, I'd like to distance him from the Seventh-day Adventist Church and not to convolute or confuse the opinions of the church with Colin Jordan. He's a politician, right? That is his day job. So, church, he doesn't have to do it for him. Church is his extracurricular activity. So, we say that he's a politician, a Barbados still party politician, and I'd rather us deal with him from that perspective as opposed to dealing with his church. I listened to the conversation, and to my surprise, look who's up front. Wilfred Abrams. I tend to withhold my comments on him because I don't want to go down the line where they will put some letters in my tail. He should come and tell the people of Barbados that it was him who allegedly led off his negotiations to privatize the Barbados Water Authority. He should come and tell us that, as opposed to getting in the parliament of this country, taking the people of Christchurch East for a ride, and he should address why Atlantic Breeze, which is in his constituency, the people up there have rotten houses, and up to now, he has not stepped in to defend those people, but could be wasting the taxpayers' money, getting in the parliament of this country, trying to attack Caswell Franklin, right? But Dale Marshall is out, so he's now the acting attorney general, so he feels empowered. He feels empowered, right? And that is why they could have empowered Khalil Coffee-Waller to be in Christchurch East, saying that they want to pass a bill to stop people from attacking Wilfred Abrams. He said it right out of his mouth. And that is why, because Wilfred Abrams has a lot to answer for to Barbadians.
A minister is supposed to be like Caesar's wife, beyond reproach. And when you get caught or there's an allegation against you, you could either have to clean it up or leave office, because the office it doesn't. John Perfumo, back in the 1960s, he's a British MP, and he said to the House of Commons that he did not have a mistress, outside woman. And when they found out, he had to resign, because you can't have scandal attached to you as a minister of the government, as then Her Majesty's government, and he had to go same as simple as having an outside woman. So this is worse than outside woman. The way you're accused of money laundering and all kind of stuff, he should deal with these. But while at it, I have a WhatsApp message from Wilfred Abrams on the 20th of April 2022. It says, "Good afternoon, Caswell. I would like to call you this afternoon to discuss the proposed terms of reference for a departmental inquiry into the operations of both prison and GIS, government industrial schools. Please let me know when it is convenient. It is a convenient time to call, because they wanted me to do these terms of reference. I did them for him. He's done is attacking me, because I had written to him further, and I said I would not speak to him since then because he was dishonest. I said here, I don't mean to offend you. It is interesting to note that you are now telling me that you know your responsibility and that the matter will be investigated. You and other ministers, including the Prime Minister, are in the habit of wholesale cover up when you are fed false information by senior public officers. You, for example, went public with information about 3 prison officers that could not be found. You have since learned that this is not the truth. What steps have you taken? Have you condescended to apologize to them for exposing them to ridicule and contempt? It might not matter to you, but that incident has considerably lowered you in my estimation. And they said, that is not the reason for the veiled threat. I simply don't trust you anymore. When you were appointed as Minister of Home Affairs, I convinced those 3 prison officers and others that you were a man of integrity that could be trusted. They are no feeding back those words to me, since many of the things that you said at those press conferences in relation to Dodds and prison officers were totally untruths. They believe that you did so deliberately. The jury is still out with me on that. And they said, I have no confidence that you will protect, and they call the name of a particular prisoner, since your performance to date only suggests cover up. I will not apologize for the threat. It was deliberate and calculated. This was a prisoner that informed me, instead of bringing alcohol and soaps and medicines into the prison, they brought him body bags. And when that prisoner informed me, they probably checked the logs or whatever else, and they beat him to a pulp. But they figured I only had one prisoner informing me things. So another prisoner contacted me to tell me that they beat him and put him in segregation. So that is when I wrote to him and pointed out what had happened. And they said, it is a myth. My informant, he want to know if he didn't know I had informants. I ain't gonna know that. This man has covered up so much in the prison, so much bad behavior. We had a senior prison officer that not only he and all of them know about, who got a Jamaican prisoner pregnant. Them ain't doing nothing about that. But they're gonna come and attack me. I was mild on this program, I was keeping it calm. And people thought that I had a lot of stuff. I got a lot more. They don't tell them don't trouble me, because I will talk about the rest of the things that I do know. He's begging me for help. This is a person who and registered and recognized and all kind of stuff. Nonsense. Tell them to leave me alone here. So government, rather than bother about me, should see where it's putting the money, because they have not given me a red cent. They wanted to give me a car and they won't take it. So they won't have to guess and see how much I do with the people's car. So don't worry about people that don't take your money. Ask about these things and answer Ralph Thorne, because Ralph has a right to ask. I have a right to ask. Everybody has a right to ask, because the money comes from money going to market, and they pay a VAT or any other taxes they pay. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
It's people's money. So the government should be investigating, and they should be able to answer those questions, rather than answer, oh, tell me, I don't want you to call any names, but I want you to tell me which unions comply. Foolish man. Is he complying with his duties as a minister of government and taking care of the prisoners? Because they are prisoners, that doesn't mean they're not human beings. They got mothers and fathers and children. I think, you see, I'm sure they talk about earlier, had a twin brother. I know they don't know the facts about his death. They don't know.
I want to get your input on whether you think, how do you feel about the Prime Minister not being present? Because this is something I think that we need to register as a people. Whether you use your Facebook, you use your WhatsApp, something to register this as Barbadians, that this behavior, we're not for it. April 1st, if I remember well, is the day that we're supposed to be increasing the salary of the PM, who is hardly here, and of all these different ministers.
You get the same increase. And that's why I tell you I don't like percentage increases, because
Yes,
a
I
3%
understand.
increase for the Prime Minister was over $1,000. At the bottom of the salary scale, it was only 104. You see what I mean? So it is a joke.
Yeah.
But every civil servant now will get an increase at the 1st of April too, not only the Prime Minister. What some person was saying, I think it was Ferdinand, he was
Ferdinand, yes.
saying that they can refuse it. And I explained that there has been a refusal of salaries. I remember in the Dems were saying, well, they're going to refuse their salaries, their increase and that
The
kind of stuff.
increase.
So this is what people are asking for now in Barbados, that the Prime Minister is making so much, for she got to take care of she and her family, her children and stuff. So you got all that money. For the Prime Minister, that's $1,000. $1,000 ain't no big thing for the Prime Minister. Her entertainment allowance alone is more than what the half the public service gets as salary.
White Oaks, the government paid 54 million Barbados dollars to two men in a backroom shop. Right? Two men in a backroom shop. And when you check out the financial statements, these people made $0. Right? They made $0. And the government, yes, £0. They filed with Company House. Company House is
In the two
equivalent to
preceding years,
our corporate affairs
corporate affairs.
report. They made $0, and the government gave them 54 million Barbados dollars. Signed a deal without a cabinet in place. The Prime Minister signed a deal with White Oaks for $54 million, and there was no cabinet in place. That should be investigated, and she should be charged to return the people's money, because how can you be signing off on a deal? The government announced it on the 1st of June, 2018. Right? Elections were in May 20. The cabinet was not in place. How could you be signing off on White Oaks without a cabinet in place, and you paid absurd amounts of money to these companies? This was the highest and most expensive debt restructuring in the world. And as Mr. Torn rightfully said, you paid more than Greece, right? And Greece was in far more debt than Barbados. But I just want to quote here for alternative views. It says here, according to White Oaks' engagement letter, the government had agreed to pay the firm over 21 million US for the successful restructuring of roughly $5 billion of domestic debts, excluding the arrears. And it shall be noted that the letter was signed 5 days after the Prime Minister was sworn in on May the 25th, 2018. Again, there was no cabinet in place at that time. And 2 days before the government announced that it was defaulting on its debt, the Financial Times said that they could not believe that the government was paying such absurd amounts. And the international world criticized Barbados seriously and launched an attack on the government of Barbados for paying White Oak that amount of fees. Right? So it says here that once complete, the government is set to pay White Oaks $4 million for restructuring approximately $910 million $10 million of debt owed to foreign investors. Right? So they only restructured approximately $1 billion in foreign debt. But today, we have over $5 billion that the government borrowed since that restructuring. Right? And it says also that the firm is receiving approximately $85,000 a month as a retainer. No, it's $85,000 a month. And Maskell said in Barbados that we did not have the people here in Barbados who were educated enough to be able to do a debt restructuring. That was the most absurd thing I said, because Dr. Delil Warren could have done that restructuring. I always say that because Dr. Delil Warren had to then turn around and defend those foreign investors that the government refused to pay back. He had to defend them to force the government to come to an arrangement to pay back those people. Right? That is what happened. Also, it says that it is likely to take another 12 months to finalize the deal. According to the persons involved in the negotiation, an additional $2 million in monthly fees, which brought the total payout from Barbados to roughly $27 million US to White Oaks. And this hasty move came under severe scrutiny as Barbados was featured in the Financial Times for overpaying White Oaks fees, a small boutique firm unheard of by most people. And the international creditors formed a committee appointed former governor of the central bank, Dr. Delaware, to lead negotiations on their behalf against the government's negotiators, which included the attorney general and some other people, right? And it says here that it took approximately 18 months now, where Ranstrong came back and said that the government reached a deal with the external creditors, which previously they said it was going to take 12 months, but he came back in 18 months, which means that $85,000 a month adding on every month, right? And the creditors and the government of Barbados had a public spat, arguing all over the newspapers about how these negotiations were handled according to how White Oaks handled this, right? So this is scandalous. And the international media, along with quite a other few economic analysts, even Jeremy Stevens, economists, criticized this White Oak deal, right? And I heard Mr. Dugade speaking so much trash today about White Oaks. This was not a good deal for Barbados. Marshall, do you know that we are still banned from international credit markets because of how the government handled this debt restructuring that White Oaks did? And the reason that we have to pay so much now whenever we do return to international credit markets is because of what White Oaks did. Mr. Torrance shall launch an investigation as to why the Prime Minister could have signed a deal with White Oaks 5 days after she was sworn in without a cabinet in place, why the deal took so long, and why you were paying such absurd amounts of money. But you know what? You know who was involved again? Avinash Prasad. So we should ask also if Avinash Prasad got a finder's fee for White Oaks and how much Avinash Prasad was paid, if he was paid, to manage this White Oaks situation.
I just want to support Kimar. I can tell you why. 20th of May elections. 29th, victory celebration, that kind of stuff. That does not mean that the cabinet will be able to get in there and look at the finances of the government to make a decision to go into our pockets, because of many people's pockets to take away the money. Remember the write-off people's money? They did this. Martin got to be the biggest genius in the world to know what was happening in government finances. She was in opposition. She did not have anything to do with the government finances. She couldn't have known. But yet still, you have a situation where you could engage a firm of two people within 5 days. That means that this was ongoing before the election. Because government don't hire anybody in 2 days. You don't even hire a fellow to clean the street in 2 days. And they were here and engaged within 6 days of the election. Something has to be wrong. How did the government get into there and look at the government finances and know what we were supposed to do? But one, we didn't have a government in place yet. We only had a prime minister and an attorney general. So how this deal was done? When I heard about it, you know me, I went and I checked against what was that what Kimar was telling you, that he's here in the Senate, because I went and I searched to discover that White Oaks was a broke company, didn't have any work, and for the 2 years prior to Barbados government engaging them, they had filed returns with Company House. Like I didn't file my thing with Corporate Affairs, they didn't file with Company House. And they filed with Company House, but their returns were 0.00 pounds. They made that princely sum of money in 2 years prior, and they were talking about, they were out there when the government was saying how these are international people, how they go into all this business and they're highly successful. They're highly successful. If you're highly successful, man, you don't make 0 pounds.
I just wanted to paint some detail as to what White Oaks did in Barbados. As the opposition leader rightfully said, they took $1 billion out of the national insurance, just write it off with a stroke of a pen, gone. Up to now, the national insurance is still owed $1 billion. They took $1 billion from the Central Bank of Barbados, just wrote it off. People who had treasury bills, They just wrote off people treasury bills, and that has not happened. That happened at least 3 times in the world: Russia, Ukraine, and Uruguay. 3 times, and Barbados made history in restructuring and robbing those people of the treasury bills, right? So we still owe the central bank a billion, the NAS a billion, we owe more treasury bills, right? And local people still are not receiving the debt that the government owed to them. And the government is paying people in bonds because they passed this debt settlement bill, which says that if the government owes you any legal claims, if you sue the government and they owe you money, they pay you in bonds. If they took over your property and your house, they will then pay you in bonds. If you had any medical injuries and the government owes you money, they paid you in bonds. How could that be spectacular advice for $54 million, right? So it is not like they did an excellent job. The last thing that a lot of people don't want to address, they completely destroyed the banking sector in this country. And that's why we are being bleeded for these banking fees, Marcia, because the banks, the last government was forcing the banks to borrow more than they really wanted to because the banks were refusing to lend money, right? But when the government came in now and defaulted on the loan, the banks were just buying up this extra treasury paper because the government increased something called the legal reserve requirement on the banks. So the banks were forced to take up this extra government debt, not by their choice, but by the government policy. And when the government came in, they just wrote that off, destroyed that area of investment and returns for the banks. And that's why the banks are now bleeding us through our noses for fees. That is why First Caribbean is leaving Barbados, and all of the other branches I think are closing down because they destroyed our sovereign risk profile, which says that a company operating in Barbados cannot have a higher credit rating than the government. So Sagicor, all of these big First Caribbean, all of these big companies that usually do foreign exchange transactions, borrow on the international markets, the government destroyed all of those lending opportunities because a company cannot legally or politically have a credit rating or a standing that is higher than the government. And that is why a lot of the companies left Barbados and went over to Bermuda because we us and the government destroyed us with this debt restructuring deal.
Mr. Franklin, any final word before we close?
I don't want to give a final word. I want to give you some news. Australia, Queensland, Australia. The High Court in Queensland handed down a decision that those mandatory shots was unlawful and that the people who got fired for not taking them, the police and the ambulance service people and thing, they were wrongly dismissed. You know, this is just about a day or so ago in Australia. The decision came out then. I have it here, but I can't read it for you now because it's so late. But you can check it. Just check Queensland court decisions and stuff, and you will see it. Or you can Queensland Australia court decisions, and you can find it. So we are being vindicated more and more, but because this now is probably one of the first decisions in a court, because mine was from a tribunal, the first
Yes.
decision from your court that now knock back this nonsense that the governments around the world have been doing. So I wish people would stand up for their rights and don't just get cowered down into doing what the government said because they are the government. Use your head, think for yourselves, that and find them going to say they try to take me away from you. They won't do that.